And per the comprehensive plan, we believe that the site can be upzoned to C3C, which allows for an FAR of 8, approximately 9 or 10 stories in height. We're very pleased to have received 3 very high-quality responses from 3 experienced development teams who will present their concepts to you here tonight. I am happy to answer any questions. The commission has my information. Again, Lee Gold, Senior Project Manager, and you'll be hearing from 3 teams tonight on quality mixed-use developments for the site. There's a lot happening in the area. It's just north of Capitol Crossing. It's just down the street from the fairly new Walmart. A lot happening in that Mount Vernon Triangle area, so we're really excited that hopefully we can add some value to this district parcel in the near future. So with that, I'll turn it over to the first of 3 development teams. Unless the ANC had any questions for me at this point, I'll turn it over to CV Partners as our first team to present, and they're made up of FLGA and Perseus Realty. So I'll turn it over to Fred Green from their team. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Lee. 1 second. Oh,
Sure.
1 second.
Sure.
You have some boards?
Yeah, well,
Gentlemen, you have 10 minutes for your presentation,
Okay, great.
including questions, yeah.
so we'll put that one up. Easy.
Okay, well, we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Fred Green. I am the Executive Vice President of FLGA. We're very excited to be in front of you guys tonight. We thank you very much for your time, and we're here to propose today our proposed use for the 2nd and 8th Street site, which we hope is the future home of the Thurgood Marshall College Fund campus. Just to start off, I'll tell you a little bit about our team again. Myself, FLGA, my father, our president and CEO of FLGA. We have Fred Bedard and Adam Peters from Perseus Realty, who is our co-development partner in this endeavor. We have Scott Lilly, who is our programmatic partner, the Thurgood Marshall College Fund, which, as you guys may or may not know, is a large 501c3 nonprofit focused on reducing the barriers to entry to education for minority students across the nation. In addition, we have Yolanda Cole in the back from Hickok Cole, who is our design partner. You guys may be familiar with their work from the NPR building over in Noma. So the team is very, very qualified for this project. Kind of one of the things that I wanted to kind of start with is, again, everybody that you're going to hear from tonight is more than qualified to develop on this site. And to that extent, it's incrementally important that whatever's proposed on the site, whatever actually comes to the site, is fundamentally about the community first. And when we were first thinking about this project, we had 3 basic themes that we wanted to make sure that we addressed in proposing whatever our use was. Number 1, we wanted to naturally make sure the project was about the community. It's a district parcel. It's owned by the residents of the District of Columbia. And to that extent, it needs to be something that's going to be a long-term benefit to the community. Second, we want it to be impactful. How can we deliver maximum community impact with whatever we're putting at the site? And last but not least, we want it to be creative. It's a district parcel. It's a very marquee parcel. And to that extent, we came up with a development program that is the Thurgood Marshall College Fund campus. It is a proposed 9-story building that has 2 levels of office that will be home to the national headquarters of the Thurgood Marshall College Fund, 6 levels of affordable graduate student housing, and 1 level of ground floor neighborhood serving retail. And with that, I'll pass the presentation on to Adam Peters. He'll tell you a little bit more about our proposed development program.
Thank you, Fred. Again, I'm Adam Peters with Perseus Realty. We are a DC development company. Actually, all of our employees are from and live in DC. We develop small and medium-sized properties all downtown. Condo buildings, office, hotels, and we're very pleased to have this partnership with FLGA for this proposed project. As Fred alluded to, our design is not just about what's the best building we can build, but really what can we do for the whole community. And the first thing is to create a great ground plan. And we're taking on the idea of creating green space, hard space, and really sloped lawns and seating areas all around the site. The goal of creating a destination, a place where students from different universities can come sit, they can come interact with the graduate students from the student housing, and can learn from each other. We also a place where people in the community can come and learn from some of the other students and pick their brains. And so we think this is a great opportunity to draw people to this location. We're proposing a cafe bookstore on the north end and another piece of retail on the south, which we're still planning. The site also has underground parking, which will be done through a car elevator going straight down and accessing the parking below. We're proposing 10 spaces, which we think is more than enough that we need for the site, and that will serve directly everyone in the office on the 2 floors on the top. The use for the site is very exciting for the community, as the students essentially have no cars. Graduate students, and especially the people we'll be serving here, they can't afford cars. And so this will not add more parking demand on the streets around for the community. And I think that's a very important point, is that this site is so small, it's important that it doesn't add to the need for more on-site parking. A few more important pieces is we've been working closely with the Thurgood Marshall College Fund to design the units for the students. And so in working with Hickok Cole, who recently completed the NYU campus here in DC, we know exactly how to design them and to fit for the future needs of graduate students. And so one more thing about our partnership, Fred and I and his father have worked together in the past. We've built several buildings together. In the past, we worked for larger companies, specifically the JBG companies, but now we've come to the smaller side, and working with more intimately with the community is what our companies are all about. And so I'm very pleased to turn it over now to Scott from Thurgood Marshall to tell their story of how they help students, specifically with student housing, and how they're going to help the community in the area.
Excuse me, you're going to have to move your little sign over just slightly.
Yeah, sure.
Either all the way over.
All the way over here? That's, I'll go right over here.
Blocking our camera and
Okay.
on center stage.
Okay, you got it.
Well, thank you, and as mentioned, I'm Scott Lilly, Vice President of Programs at Thurgood Marshall College Fund. We represent the nation's 47 publicly historically black colleges and universities, including 2 here in the district, University of the District of Columbia and Howard University. We're so proud to partner with this team because we think this is very unique. 2 years ago, we relocated our headquarters from New York City to Washington, D.C. We're now at 9th and F Street. But we don't have our own home. What we have is leased space in another building, and we're growing by leaps and bounds. In May this year, Apple announced a $40 million investment in Thurgood Marshall College Fund to increase the access and retention of students attending HBCUs, as well as increasing the diversity in Silicon Valley. And so with that growth comes a need for space. And as we partnered and looked at this opportunity, we looked at kind of 3 things that we thought we could bring, and one fourth one that was very unique. With the $250 million endowment, we provided over 400 scholarships annually each year. So what we are looking at doing here is providing scholarships directly to residents from the community. While we provide scholarships across the nation, we want to provide students who are coming through the high school here in the district opportunity to go to one of the HBCUs, hopefully in the district, but any of our other schools. Second, neighborhood access to capital. We also focus on innovation and entrepreneurship. I actually lead the division that works on that in our organization. And one of the things that we're looking at doing, I actually was on a call today with Howard University, who is setting up an incubator right here in the district. And I told them, hold off on setting it up because we may have the perfect space for that. We want to bring that directly to the community and provide resources on business plans, how to develop your team, as well as how do you get access to capital. Neighborhood Workforce Development. The signature program at Thurgood Marshall College Fund is called our Teacher Quality Retention Program, or TQRP. And in that, we're preparing K through 12 teachers. I think all of us who have gone on to have success in our professional careers are products of teachers. Doctors don't create anyone, lawyers don't create, they're all created by a teacher. And so this signature program is one that we would run out of this building here, and we would bring it directly to the city, the district. And then lastly, we have over 125 interns that we place throughout government and corporate employers. There's no housing. Anyone who's been in the internship business knows that students can come to DC from Itta-Benna, Mississippi, where we have a school, but how do you actually afford to live in the district? And so we hope to open up our doors and open up our beds to the students and the graduates. And something that I'd like to say, I know last week we presented to the council, and we were asked to get to a letter of support. And so I'd like to just read a little quick note from the president of the University of District of Columbia, Ron Mason, who says, I write this letter as an indication of support and interest from our university to lease these units for TMCF for our graduate and professional students. Should TMCF be awarded development rights, UDC will enter into immediate discussions with TMCF to secure a leasehold interest. So the demand is there. We think this is a unique opportunity, in particular with what's going on in the nation. And so around the country, if you don't believe in higher education, we think that that is obviously an issue, and we want to make sure that that's right here in the district. With that, I'll turn it back over to Fred.
Thank you, Scott. Just to close up again, our proposal is fundamentally about the community. The impact is measurable, really just focused on delivering a comprehensive community package that's going to increase the overall quality of life here in the District of Columbia. So with that, we thank you very much for your time, and we open this up to any questions that you might have.
So I guess I'm actually very intrigued by it.
Yeah, sure.
And I think it's at least it's something different than what we normally see.
Mhm.
But, so is this only going to be marketed to Howard and UDC? Or I guess I don't understand who, if I go to Trinity, am I allowed to live here?
Yes, absolutely. So it is student housing. It is not
Okay.
HBCU housing.
Okay.
And so the market right now, there's a demand for, if you go to Trinity, of course, one of the things that we talked about was the NYU project that came up. Well, NYU, that building was donated. Most of the students who attend HBCUs are Pell Grant eligible, which that's defined as a household income of $28,000. And so when we look at the affordability component, we of course are looking at HBCU students, but we're opening it up to all students.
So it would be open to every university in the city is what you're saying? Because the closest campus is Georgetown Law. So would you, if I'm going to Georgetown Law, could I live here?
Yes, we would open that up for graduate student housing for students who are looking for housing in the district.
Anywhere.
Anywhere.
So, okay, and then also, I think it was you who said, you made a terrible assumption that you said that graduate students don't have cars.
They all have
I mean, I've never, I mean, what? And they can't afford it. I mean, I could go to graduate school tomorrow as an older student and bring my car. So I just find this assumption horrible that you said that. So I don't know, I don't get that. So,
I guess,
Well, I was going to say, to your point, we want to balance. Obviously, it's open to everyone, but again, if we have a student coming from, some of the schools that we represent are Alabama, Mississippi, they don't have those resources. And so when we think about affordability, when we think about the issue and the spiraling cost of higher education, we want to make sure, while it may be a gross over-assumption, there are students who still do not have those resources. And so that was, I think, the spirit of that.
and I guess the other point is the NYU building that was just completed for student housing, one of their policies is they can't have cars and be tenants in the building. And so that sort of doubles up the point that this will not create new demand for parking in the area.
So are you saying that you're going to make that a qualification?
Absolutely.
That they cannot have a car here?
Absolutely.
so if I go to Trinity and I have a car, I'm not living here.
Well,
If I go to Georgetown Law and have a car, I'm not living here.
The other thing to also keep in mind is it is a limited amount it is 66 units, and we are very much of this, we're really catering toward affordable housing, affordable graduate student housing, right? So in theory, if it's affordable graduate student housing, it would, people would not necessarily need a car if they're looking for affordable housing. So the spirit of it, again, is to make sure that we're meeting the demand of a population a population that has a dire need for affordable graduate student housing.
I have another question, and for me, living not too far from the location, I am not looking forward, per se, to the number of grad students who will be, you all think they're going to be studying. We all know that grad students party just like every other college student. And where is going to be the security? Where is going to be the controls for students? I have young singles that live in my building that are worse than college students anywhere. At the number 1, number 2, number 3 party schools, my building sometimes had that happen just from people who had just finished education and getting their first job and that kind of thing. How are you guys going to guarantee controls over these students for, all the things that college students do that are not healthy things?
So again, I'm going to, programmatically, again, it being the Thurgood Marshall College Fund campus, most of the students that exist there are going to be people that are part of their program, right? So specific students that are applying for scholarships, and this is their method of housing them. So, with that, one of the things that we also talked about is the students are going to have to do some sort of, giving back to the community. They're going to have to do some, If it's a law school student, they're going to have to assist residents with tenant right, issues. If it's a business school student, maybe they help the neighborhood or individuals in the neighborhood with certain business plans. So I think there are ways in which we can kind of qualify the students that are coming in. It won't necessarily be a full-on open market per se. Again, the vast majority of the students that will be coming will be also members of the Thurgood Marshall, effectively the Thurgood Marshall family in some way, shape, or form. So I think that in a large way kind of qualifies the students that are coming in.
Will you be setting aside some number of units for students that have parents and are living directly in our community? Or are they gonna have, because I don't see anything coming back to this community that, you're saying people from all over are gonna be all welcome, and anybody can, from any university. What are you doing for the people who live in our neighborhood who need that service?
Well, as I said, we have support from UDC, and we also have support from Howard. We don't have any writing. So those are our primary targets, right? That are right here, and they're not sitting in your district, right? But they're sitting in the District of Columbia. That's where we need it. Affordable housing is one of those concepts that for students is very interesting. We think this is a unique approach. Back to your original question about how do we manage, our headquarters is in that building. So one of the things that we'll have.
But y'all go home at night.
We go home at night, but we will also have a management team that will be responsible for having space, a dedicated space in the building. We've already discussed how we would program manage the students.
There's also scholarships for the locals.
Yeah, so in terms of that, I mentioned about scholarships for the local students. So our goal is to provide, of our 400 scholarships, we want to give scholarships specifically to those students coming from your community.
Not the District of Columbia, our community.
Your community.
Absolutely.
But those students must apply to go to college, and that's where we're also going to have, we envision SAT prep courses on the weekends to be able to drive that pipeline, because you have to apply, and when you apply to a school, then we're able to administer a scholarship.
So when you made your presentation to the Zoning and Planning Committee last week, there was no mention of accommodating any non-HBCU students here. You mentioned the fact that internships at federal agencies and with other partners would be attracting HBCU students from around the country. They would be accommodated here. They would be chosen on the basis of the fact that they were coming from HBCU. So Commissioner Nigro's question about other schools and your response has me confused as to what your mission really is.
Well, our mission is primarily focused on HBCU students. Students that primarily receive our scholarships must attend an HBCU. However, we know that there's a demand in the market, and if we don't want to exclude anyone, right? And so that conversation came up. I specifically talked to our president and CEO last week, and he said, while I would love to go to UDC and say take them all, we don't actually want to do that. We want to make sure that those students who receive our scholarships and our internships get the first rights, and then after that, we would open it up.
Any other questions from Commissioner? Yes.
So I'm assuming that you guys are going to have maybe representatives that come in and intrusively work with the individuals that you bring in, because what was highlighted by the commissioner earlier was that she is not necessarily comfortable with the demographic that might come in there. And let's be honest, we've all been to college. Okay, fine, I get where she's coming from that. So are you going to have people in place who not necessarily monitor or oversee, because they are young adults, but maybe intrusively work with them to figure out more about their lifestyle so that they can maybe have consumed idle time? Or are you gonna, through the application process, how do you weed out, I guess, I don't wanna say bad apples because I don't wanna, but I work with bad apples, but, what process do you have in place for that, where constituents who are somewhat concerned about the dormitory being thrust in the middle of their neighborhood, how do you work with that?
Well, and great question. I think two things. One, we have a very rigorous process, our screening process. Right now, we actually are working on a program for 30 students for Apple, and I'll tell you, there's about 8 rounds that they go through to receive one of our scholarships. The other thing is, as your point was well taken, these are graduate level students. So we're not looking at freshmen and sophomores. And so most graduate level students also, some have families or some are working at the same time. we're not, especially our law school students, right? Our law school students are a primary focus that we're looking at, especially with UDC not having any housing currently for their law school students. So I think a part of it is also who we're looking to attract. We're not trying to bring in freshmen who are used to partying. We're saying these are people who are down their second career or in their second opportunity, second graduate degree, looking to find an affordable place to stay, but also be able to focus on their studies.
Thank you very much for your presentation. We do have to move forward to the next presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So, Commissioner, we're going to project, we project on the high,
Usually we project onto that wall, which is the easiest, and then everybody can actually see.
I'm good, how are you?
Are you going to do the talking points and whatever first?
Yes, I am.
Okay, while they're getting set up, why don't you go ahead and tell us?
Sure.
So that because we are very, very limited on time based on the library's closing hours.
Sure, we
So go
are.
ahead.
So,
So, yeah.
good evening, everyone.
It's on.
Okay.
Just put it in your mouth.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Bua Benite, representative of Dante's Partners, a company that I founded, almost 10 years now, and I'm also represented in the room by Corey Powell, our in-house IT expert, and Mel Thompson, our architect, and Bo McKitty, another one of our partners. I think if it's one thing that we heard from this last presentation is the fact that affordable housing is needed. Affordable workforce housing is needed, and to that end, I would like to jump right into the presentation. Right? So we are.
I'm sorry, do you have copies for the commission?
We do have handouts for the commission. Okay, so okay, it's not. Oh, yeah, you want to just help me just click over it? Yeah, thank you. All right, it's not right. So again, we're just going to quickly go over the team, our program and our concept, our community benefits, as well as have room for us to be able to address whatever questions come up later. The team is comprised of basically, so it's a play on words. So the team is basically, we call ourselves the Voltron Community Partners. It's made up of Dante's Partners, the McKitty Group, Bo McKitty standing back there, Spectrum Management, Bailey Real Estate Holdings, and Vindara & Company. And Vindara is basically our retail partner who's partnered with Spike Melderson to help bring a retail concept to this particular site. Next slide, sir. Again, why Voltron is we've actually fought and won multiple battles together. So this is not a team of just folks just coming together for the sake of this particular project. We've actually worked together on a number of projects and completed. We have a combined net worth of over $60 million. Again, like I said, 5 projects completed today. Combined years, 40 years of experience, ability to execute in any market condition, and our team also share the vision of the Bowser administration for production of workforce housing. Again, what does that mean? What does workforce housing mean? This is what it means. It means individuals making between $45,000 and $60,000 a year, and those individuals comprise of our cops, our teachers, our law clerks, bicycle repairman, loan officer, so basically these are the folks that we currently house in the District of Columbia today. And we are doing that within very short distance from this particular site. We just started the renovation of the Phyllis Whitley YWCA, which is right around the corner from here. And for those of you interested, we also just completed a 90-unit building, the Hodge, on the corner of 7th and P as well, that is 100% occupied and has a wait list of 500 seniors. And I'm sorry, one last thing to highlight, the rents that we're targeting are studios in 1,100, one bedrooms 1,200, and two bedrooms 1,400. And the reason why we decided to go with this concept is because, next slide, sir. We looked at the landscape. So in every single project that we do, we always look for ways by which we can distinguish ourselves from everyone else. And the landscape right now is 9,000 market rate units that have been produced today in both the Noma and the Mount Vernon sub-district. And an additional 4,000 units that is in the pipeline. And those units are charging anywhere from $1,700 to $2,000 for studios, $1,800 to $2,200 for one bedrooms, and $2,600 to $4,600 for two bedrooms. So basically, if you're making between $45,000 to $60,000 a year, you cannot, under no circumstances, afford to live in any one of these properties that have currently been built or are in the process of being built. And that's fact. Again, our program concept. 8-story building, 72 units, C3C zone, 8 studios, 24 one-bedrooms, 18 two-bedrooms. And you can see how it's broken out by the various AMI groups. In particular, and more important, one second, we're also adhering to the new district law whereby 30% of the units have to be deeply affordable as well. So that we are currently meeting.
Excuse me for interrupting,
Sure.
but I thought there was no longer a 30% AMI line. That's not true?
That's not the case. So the law actually explicitly states we have to provide units at both the 30 and 50% of AMI level.
Okay.
Just to reorient everyone, we know where the site is located. There's a lot of activity going on. We are basically trying to take advantage of the floor plate that we have. And as you can see and hopefully you all can see, we basically like to enliven our properties by introducing, amenity space, fitness center for our tenants. Obviously, play area for our tenants as well. Office lease, and like I said, we do have a retail tenant that is looking to program about 2,700 square foot of space, and he's currently partnered with Spike Medicine to put in place like a cafe on the site. In addition to 8 parking spaces. And everyone is going to say, well, why do we have parking spaces? Well, or why don't we have more parking spaces? The truth is, one second, if we just went back one more time, sir. If we had to provide parking, one, it's a very skinny site, and two, we would sacrifice the spaces that we feel help invigorate the site right now. Next slide, sir. Next slide. And this is basically how the unit are laid out. And as you can see, we have 2 bedrooms, 1 bedrooms, and studios. And on the rooftop, we have 2 units, a club room, and a very expansive roof terrace for our residents as well. In addition to that, and as well as, we believe in we always say, and again, you all don't have to take my word for it. You can just, again, like I said, you can walk 2 blocks from here, and you can see that we take a lot of pride in our buildings, the way they look and the way they function, and we believe in keeping our properties sexy, despite the fact that we are targeting folks at a lower income range. Next slide. This site was inspired by the Flatiron. I love this building so much. Unfortunately, we can't build it today. So I don't know, Mel, our architect, I don't know if you want to say a quick word, or if I should. Okay. So it was inspired by the Flatiron, and that's what we did. And frankly, it was also inspired by the library. So we sort of try to take that angle to, look and screen to bring to the site, but also pretty modern as well. Next slide, sir. And that's another perspective. Next slide. And yet another perspective. Next slide. And this is, what gives you an idea of what the common areas start to look like and function. Next slide, sir. So, question was raised about community benefits. What and how does this impact you all? And why should you care? Well, first and foremost, we're adopting the park. We're going to make it a lively park. We're going to basically bring a lot of greens to the site, make it family-oriented in such that both the kids and adults can play, and this is a park that we would be maintaining.
What park are you referring to?
The park directly north of the site. Next slide. In addition to that, we will be contributing $100,000 to neighborhood community groups that currently exist in this neighborhood.
Who are those
So-
groups?
So right now, we've listed them: the Boys and Girls Club, Holy Redeemer Catholic Church, Perry School, Walker Jones Elementary School, and Northwest One Library, and whoever else you all think is worthy of taking advantage of this.
I appreciate your $100,000 concept.
Yeah.
I think that based